Welcome to Don't Be Caged by Your Age, Joanie Marx. I'm so happy you're here to share how you are shattering age related expectations and stereotypes while serving the world with all your delicious pro aging advice and glow. How are you?
Well, I'm getting my broom and my pan to get rid of all those things that fell down from that ceiling. You know, the glass ceiling.
That's
We're,
right.
we're going up, baby.
We are going up. Listeners, I'm just going to start right off because you'll get Joni as you listen to the conversation, but she is an extraordinary woman. She's a three times number one international best-selling author. She's known as a storytelling magician. She's also the creator of three acclaimed online courses on udemy.com. And she has also written and produced over 400 episodes of her popular video series about self love on her YouTube channel. Okay, so that is definitely shattering ageist belief systems right there. And prior to all of this amazing work and achievement, Joni was a pioneering entrepreneur who co founded a multi million dollar consumer product company. And by the way, and you'll see in her tag underneath her name, those watching the video, parallel to all of that, Joni has also been a professional actor, producer, and brand spokeswoman for over 30 years. Oh my gosh, Joni, you
Mhm.
just don't ever stop. I love that about you.
Oh no. You have to keep going. You have to have a desire. What I say about myself is I do have things I want to accomplish. I'm just not sure how they're going to come together. I just kind of go along and opportunities come and somehow things get put together.
And that's such an important piece of advice. So often we hear, oh, I'm going to manifest this and I'm going to manifest that. It's great to have intention, which is what you were just talking about. But when you let the details evolve and they pop up and you listen and you watch and you follow the prompts,
Mhm.
a lot of magic can happen, right?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things I'm very big on that I suggest to my YouTube viewers and people that I do on my articles is that when you journal, get your journal out. I like to do it in the morning when it's quiet, when I have my cup of coffee. And you're allowing your inner self to voice what it is we're doing, what it is we're going after. And as I say in my books, it it bypasses your inner critic. I always think of that inner critic as kind of sitting right there going, "Nah, nah, nah." Okay. But you're so busy drinking your coffee, journaling, looking out at the day that your inner critic doesn't get a chance to put in all these negative thoughts. And as you, year after year, you have these journals, if you have a particular problem, you can go back and say, oh, that's how I solved it. Or that was what my thinking is, which I agree with now or I don't agree with. But it's there for you to have a better feeling for who you are.
I love that, Joni. And you know what I like to tell folks when those negative fears and doubts crop up? Think of when you're making a delicious chocolate cake, right?
Hmm.
It's not going to succeed unless you have baking soda. Baking soda by itself tastes terrible. So think of your fear and doubt like baking soda. Mix it into the cake and the batter, and it's delicious. It's going to help everything rise and be wonderful, but it's not going to rule the day for you. Hey,
Like that.
Joni, I'm
Uh,
going to pop you for those watching the video. I'm popping Joni up into full screen because, Joni, I want you to talk a little bit about all these books that you've got there.
Oh, well, thank you very much for asking me. All right, the first book on in blue is Facelifts, Money, and Prince Charming. It says break baby boomer myths and live your best life. So where did that title come from? I went to a luncheon with my sorority sister and another friend from college, and she was a widow and had been a widow for about a year. When I said to her, Cheryl, how's it going? What's your new life like? And she says, what new life? I haven't had a facelift. I don't have money. So there is no Prince Charming in my life. I just was incensed. So I walked out of the restaurant, closed the door behind me, and said, I'm doing something about this. So that is where the title and that's where the book came from. Facelifts, Money, and Prince Charming. You don't need those. And I called it the baby boomer myths, but the truth of it is it's not just for baby boomers.
No, it
So my
isn't.
s- no, so my second book, Inspired, says how to refocus and renew your life in spite of the obstacles on your path to love and happiness. So it's not just baby boomer myths. All of us have obstacles. Some have been instilled in us, some we've learned the hard way, and some we need to remove. But that's that book. And next to it, it is In Spite of, which is the audiobook. I had a professional narrator. Then coming to the other side, there's a book called The Expert's Cure. That's an anthology, and I have the very first chapter in it, and it won a Wall Street Journal and USA Today Best Book.
Isn't that great? And what's the
Yeah.
expert's cure about?
It's about 20 different people talking about what they've done, what their secret is to entrepreneurial success. Now, here's a fast story. Okay, so I started was an import export business. I started that in the 70s. Okay. I was going to Taiwan, the only woman that ever went, and I would say to the traders I was working, I want to go to the factory. So I would go to these factories in the middle of no place. You know, they'd have chickens running around and they'd have a great sound system. And I'd see what the workers were doing, and they were putting my sticker on our products. And so I said, I'm that person. So please do a really good job because people are going to buy this. It's going to have my name on it, and I'm going to know you made it for me.
Aw.
And that made that went a long way as a small importer.
Right, right. And those entrepreneurial gems that we learn, I'm always telling people, Joni, you always win when you launch a business, no matter what happens, right? Because either you get a win, which is lovely, or you're going to lose, which is highly likely. And for many folks, but
Yes.
you're going to either go and start another business because you're like, oh, okay, I get this entrepreneurial journey now. Now I'm going to do it this way and I'll have a much better chance of succeeding. Or you're going to say, this is not cut out for me ever. But you have so many wonderful skills that you learned in personal development that you can't get anywhere else, right? And now you
Yeah.
can take that and transfer it for more money at a company that's going to find you valuable because you had that
Yes.
experience.
And when I told my mother that I was an entrepreneur, I'm telling you, truthfully, I think I'm the very first person who ever titled themselves that. So my mother said to me, well, how do you spell it? Because I was a horrible speller. And so I spelled it. And she says, oh, that's right. So I guess if you can spell it, you can be it.
See, now that's a wonderful new motto, right, listeners? If you can spell it, you can be it.
You can be it. And I
I
think
lo-
that's the beginning of being a storytelling magician. And I kind of want to say, I give this out as an idea to people that we're all storytelling magicians. So if you want a better story in life, then you have to tell yourself a new and better story. You you have to motivate yourself. You have to see the vision, which you then can, change around. Kind of like if you're writing a script, you kind of change the characters up a little bit, but it gives you a goal. It gives
yes.
you a purpose. It gives you a direction. And as long as you are alive, regardless of your age, if you are here, how lucky that you're alive. Just
Hey,
think, just think about this. In all of history, think about all these famous people. They're all dead. But you and I are alive. This is our time to shine. So become your own storytelling magician. Get your journal out, talk it into a phone, type it on a computer, lay out for yourself what it is you want, how you're going to go about getting it, and how you're going to celebrate the day by day little successes and how you're going to overcome the failures, which we talked about.
Right. And I think this is so important about stories because sometimes we latch onto a story that really isn't true. We have built a story around ourselves that might be a belief or what other people have told us. So sometimes we have to be careful about what stereotypes and other stories we have about ourselves, especially at this age, where people are saying, oh, you need to retire. Well, Joni, let's talk about that because we know that retirement is, first of all, sending many people who are in their 50s panicking and running, screaming into the streets because they don't plan on retiring. They want to keep going. But also, retirement has become a World Health Organization epidemic. It's really costing societies billions of dollars. So, what I do know from diving into aging and pro aging is that so many folks over the age of 60 are having the time of their life, like the best time of their life.
Well, yes, and that's part what I'm saying is you have to say, I have this much time. I don't know exactly how much time, but I'm going to give myself the benefit of the doubt. I think it's the most amount of time. And so, what am I going to do with this? I have been blessed with being alive in this world. How am I going to do it? That is what motivated me to do my brand new book, which is going to be out I believe, at the very end of September.
All right, let me get the clappers out, everybody.
Of October. Okay, so this book is my fourth book, and it is called Finding True Love After 50. Create Your Best Life in the Age of Loneliness. So, what is this about? This book is about finding true love. Is it always exists because it always exists within you. You have to be your own true love. And when you come from a point of view of acceptance of yourself, a point of view of abundance and understanding and being appreciative of what it is you have, your whole life opens up because you've got the love you need. And so you can go out and succeed. I just did an article on my YouTube channel called Embracing Your Sexuality After 60. I
Ooh,
can't believe
Joni, you
what
glow.
I know. I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to channel Dr. Ruth here." I cannot believe in 2 days how many people looked at that. And so I thought, wow, because if you love yourself and you understand your self-worth, of course you're going to appreciate your sexuality, the enjoyment of living inside your own body, your enjoyment of seeking intimacy with other people in your world.
Absolutely. The biggest sex organ is between your ears, everyone, your brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you don't, I have the 7 myths of love and happiness. These are all these things you tell yourself. Well, if you don't have self-esteem, if you don't have a sense of self-worth, how can you possibly truly love yourself? Or if someone gives you a compliment, you're not going to take it in and believe it because you've got this barrier that says, well, they're only talking over themselves. You don't have a sense of taking in what someone is saying to you and having it validated by your own self-worth. So this whole book is about finding true love after 50. And the antidote to the age of loneliness is first start by getting rid of all these myths, getting rid of all these negative stories that you tell yourself. And so this whole book is about how to do that. How
I'm
to get rid of emotional baggage, how to look at aging, how to look at creating joy in your life, how to journal things for yourself. And then each chapter has journal prompts.
Oh,
So based
wonderful. We love
on that
journal
chapter,
prompts.
so it's exactly for that chapter. Then after the journal prompts, there's about 1 or 2 or 3 action items to do. So that when you get through with a chapter, you really integrated through the journal prompts, through the action item, what it is you were learning and how to integrate that into your daily life. Then you go on to the next chapter. So that when you get through with this book, and the last chapter is on how to visualize your dreams into reality.
Ooh, that's very powerful.
When you go through the arc of this book, through all of there's 16 chapters, and when you get to the 16th chapter, you're ready to then be your own storytelling magician and visualize your best life in the now of nows.
Right. And visualizing listeners can be
Mhm.
how you want to feel. So, for example, in 2019, what I wanted to feel was connection, community, celebration, conversation, collaboration. Those were a bunch of C words because I love alliteration, but it's what I wanted to feel. So often we get taught visualization is how things should absolutely look and be. And talk about that, Johnny, because when you're telling a story, it's always about how is the characters are feeling as they're navigating their way through an adventure.
Exactly. And that helps the viewer or the listener or the reader identify with the protagonist, because in any movie there's the good part, then there's all the problems, then there's the resolution. And I think in our everyday life we sometimes or very often get stuck and mired down in the problems and don't move on to a resolution. All
Right.
right, so how am I going to do this? There is a great quote by Buddha that says, "We suffer because we don't accept where we are." Meaning, you have to accept where you are right now. It doesn't mean you're not going to change it, but you have to be aware of the situation you're in and then be the storytelling magician and go, how am I going to either how am I going to get out of it? How am I going to make it better? What am I changing? Because I say this in spite of my book is dedicated to change, because
Yes.
change is the immutable law of nature. Everything changes. We don't like that. I think as kids, we're not taught, you want to graduate college and you want to get married. But after that, we don't necessarily like change.
Well, but life is impermanent, right? It's constantly evolving. And if you're not willing to evolve with it, that's where you run into problems. Listeners, I want you to go to joaniemarx.com because that's where you're going to find all of her books, everything about her. She is
Ah,
so amazing. Okay. But how I found Joni is I subscribe to this wonderful platform called 60 and Me.
mhm.
That's 60 spelled out SIXTY and ME.com. And her article I loved, which is called 10 Steps to Overcoming Shame and Blame. And also, you had a great article called 10 Steps to Building Your Self Esteem Over 60. But what you said was, do you know what the number one obstacle is to having your dreams, desires, and goals fulfilled after 60? And you wrote that it was shame and blame. And I really want to talk about why that is and how does that become an obstacle for folks to find and fulfill opportunities and dreams and be on purpose.
Because we that started as children. We were taught to follow the advice of authority figures, which could be our parents, a school teacher, some adult. And if you did what you were told, then you were praised. And if you didn't do what you were told, you got stuck in the corner, or you were said to be negative, or you were a bad kid, or you were this or that. And so this shame from maybe coming from how you want to be, or I'll give you an example from acting. I started acting later. I was in my 40s when I started to be an actress. And I went to these great acting classes, and What I learned was, especially with the young women, if they were put in a scene where they were supposed to be angry and upset and really standing their ground, yes, they would say the lines, but they would say them with a smile on their face. And afterwards, when you talk through, why did you behave that way? Well, because in their family, if they would have really expressed anger
Oh,
or
yeah.
I don't want to do this, they could have been and often were slammed up against a wall. So that is a concrete example of how shame and blame grows out of your family dynamics. And if
Right.
some of these actresses really worked on that, they went to therapy, they read books, they journaled to get themselves past that. Uh,
Oh, it's a
the
good girl modality.
oh,
Yeah. I grew up in a household, like, even the dogs smiled, for crying out loud. Nobody was allowed in the room without a smile on their face. I had to really overcome that.
that wasn't how they truly felt. It was how they had to behave. Otherwise, they were going to be knocked against the wall or screamed at or go to your room or you don't get to do what this.
Or they just didn't belong in the tribe, which is very scary as a kid.
And that's another thing I talk about a lot, and especially with my articles for 60 and Me, how women have been taught to be people pleasers, putting everybody else's needs and wants ahead of their own, and feeling shame and blame if they say, well, very hard
It's
for a lot
it's
of those
very
women to
y
say no to someone else. They say no to themselves a lot, but they don't say no to somebody else's requests.
well, and we have been conditioned to give, not receive. So I'm just going to invite all the women listeners, practice this every day. It's so easy for me to receive. So, Joni, how do you help individuals move past their limiting beliefs and find meaning and purpose in their lives after 60? By dissolving and changing the story around shame and blame. How do you do that?
Well, first of all, you have to listen to what it is you say to yourself. You have to listen to your inner critic who is voicing all the shame and blame statements to you. And when you start listening to it, and usually you will hear this when you're doing very everyday mundane things, you're taking a shower, you're brushing your teeth, you're doing the dishes, or you're driving someplace where you know where you're going, you will hear these voices saying these dictates to you. So the first thing to do is listen to what's being said. What's very interesting is whose voice is it that's saying these things to you? Is it your mother? Is it your father? Is it a husband? Is it your boyfriend? Is it a teacher? So only when you start hearing what you are saying to yourself, recognize who this said it to you, kind of go through what the circumstances are, what this relationship with this person whose voice is in your head. And they Iran can be dead, but they're still quite alive in your head. Then you're at a point where you can challenge it. You can't challenge what you don't see, hear, perceive. You
Right.
first have to challenge it. You first have to see it. And that's what I really like about my new book, Finding True Love After 50. We talk about emotional baggage. We talk about limiting beliefs. We talk about self love. We talk about how to really look into the mirror and appreciate yourself.
That's wonderful. Your book sounds so exciting. I just want to, wrap all of that up in the comment that you were talking about those limiting beliefs. Listeners, in order to dissolve those, as Joni said, you first have to see them, acknowledge them, and understand they're there and whose voice they are in, so that when they crop up again, you go, oh, yeah, I recognize you, but you know what? You don't have that kind of power over me anymore. And you're going to start seeing it dissolve and dilute more and more as you go, "Oh, yeah, but that doesn't have to be my story anymore," right?
Right? Yes, yes. We're changing it. We're being our own storytelling magician. Oh, you did it. You you got it. And the one thing that I wanted to say, I always end my YouTube videos on Joanie Marx, and I say every morning to look into your mirror, smile at yourself, and say, I am my own best friend, for I came into this world to be myself. For that I came.
There you go. That's so powerful. And again, it's a story that we're saying to ourselves as we look in our eyes in the mirror. And that's what I love about your book about being true love. When you truly love yourself, you can bring more love into your life. You can love more freely as well. And by addressing those issues, if you had conditional love growing up, it's so hard to find, unconditional love for
Yes.
yourself and all of these things. And listeners, we are chatting with the remarkable and also inspirational Joanie Marx. And you can learn more about Joanie via her website, joaniemarx.com. Joanie, let's talk a little bit about ageism because on October 9th is Ageism Awareness Day. And I just love bringing it
Oh,
up a lot because we all face ageism in different ways. What does ageism look like to you? And what do you do when you're confronted with ageism?
well, I think the thing to do is go, how lucky am I to be alive? So I think a sense of appreciation that you are still here in this world. And I think as you get older, there's a certain sadness that can come with birthdays because there are so many people that you love who are no longer here. So what I do about that is I say, well, I'm lucky that I'm here, and they would want me to be happy. They would want me to feel good about myself. They would want me to be accomplishing and helping other people. So, look, mom, dad, Joe, I'm doing it.
There we go. And you're
I'm
not being
doing it.
caged by your age. You're allowing yourself to keep learning and growing. I just read this wonderful article. Someone interviewed Betty Friedan
Mhm.
in 1995, and it was about her book, The Fountain of Age, instead of The Fountain of Youth.
Yeah.
But, we're still up against some of these things. And she said, a- age isn't about lost youth, it's about opportunities to find new purpose. And this is what you exemplify and represent so well,
Oh,
Joni.
thank you.
And I love that you're out there acting. And folks who are watching the video, you see this author, actress, and brand strategist. Tell us a little bit about your acting and also how you're a brand strategist for
Oh,
folks.
yes. I have a registered trademark for the invisible customer with all the money. And that's baby boomers. We're the people with all the money who are spending our money for younger generations to buy things. And all the commercials are are showing them buying it with our money. And there is little respect for baby boomers. So we're the invisible customer, all the money, and I'm doing what I can to be a brand spokeswoman and show brands that they need to bring older people because we're the ones that, first of all, have more brand loyalty than
Right.
younger kids have less innate brand loyalty. And so that we need to be acknowledged and we need to be featured in commercials. That
There
I'm
we
I'm
go.
big on that, and besides that, they can hire me to do it for them.
That's right, because you're a bona fide actress.
That's right, yeah, I gotta make a job for myself. So that's what I'm doing, and I want everyone to think about that when they go in the store and they buy something. They can say to the store owner, or they can write to the brand and say, "Hey, we're buying this, but you do all these commercials, so you don't feature us." It's
Yeah,
like we want
exactly.
it's like, you know,
No,
take my
what the
money, but don't pay attention to me.
and also, Joni, you see this all the time, the birthday cards where they make fun of aging, and we really
Oh,
need to stop that.
over the hill, the black cards. Or
Right.
when I go to auditions, people my age, people your age, are not running around, every one of us, with little white hair. And so all of us women go to these auditions with these little dumb white wigs. And then as soon as the audition's over, we pull them off and we go, why? Why? Why is that somehow the stereotype? It's like from our grandparents. They were like that. So that's another way that I'm out there doing battle against incorrect images of what specifically women, over the age of 50, over the age of 60, over the age of 70, or really even over the age of 80 are like, and they aren't that.
Okay. So, everybody, we can still keep learning and growing and being. And what Joni's really helped us with today is what is the story you're telling yourself and how can you change that and remove those limiting beliefs about shame, blame, age, how you look, all of those stories you're telling yourself.
And,
I am
and
so
limiting opportunities. There are not limited opportunities. As long as you're alive, there's a world full of opportunities. You need to just enjoy picking and choosing which ones you want to pursue.
That's right. And you can pursue it for a few years and then pull on another thread because you've got decades ahead of you
That's
if
right.
you're over the age of 60. And with all the pro aging that's going on, get out there and have some fun, lighten up your life. Joni, any last words for listeners about how they can not be caged by their age?
Look into your mirror every morning and look at what you appreciate about yourself. Look at your eyes. Look at the laugh lines around your eyes. Look at the experiences your little face in that mirror has experienced, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you go, hey, baby, I'm still here, and this is a new day for me to create who and what I am and who and what I want to share my life and energy with.
Oh my gosh, Joni, words of wisdom and inspiration from you, endless. Everyone, be sure to visit joaniemarx.com, and right there you'll find Joni's YouTube channel, and you're going to want to watch her because she's right up there up front, sharing her wisdom everywhere she glows. And gosh, thank you, Joni. Thank you
Thank
so much for
you.
joining me on the podcast.
It's been my absolute pleasure. And thank you
So
for
much.
your audience for allowing me to visit with you.
Oh, we love you. I can tell it's just going to be so much fun. And I can't wait to dive into your new book. And listeners, remember, this is what we've been talking about in this episode. You have so much more to give. Don't let those internalized ageist beliefs prevent you from pursuing new dreams and opportunities. You've got this. And Joni shared some great ways to help you on your journey. Until next time, I'm wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Cheers from Boston. And thank you, Joanie.
Thank you.
Listeners, I'm so grateful you carved out time to tune in and grab the gems from this delicious conversation. Be sure to hop on over to Don't Be Caged by Your Age on LinkedIn or Instagram to share your thoughts about ageism and unretirement. Because in this space, your age doesn't define you, it refines you. If you are inspired by a story you hear, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, share, rate, and review the podcast. To receive an alert whenever a new show is posted, please join the Don't Be Caged by Your Age newsletter. Every month, you'll receive links to the podcast and helpful resources for creating possibilities for your unretirement days. Thank you for tuning in. I am so excited to hear how you found ways to thrive after 65. Waving from Boston, cheers.